for our next panel, and I actually get to moderate this one. I'm really excited to be joined by these women. I'm Kari, and I am the co-founder of Red Curtain Addict, a platform for audiences of all levels to interact, learn, discover performing arts in the Bay Area. So we're kind of your insiders. So if you're ever wanting to know more about the ballet, symphony, opera, jazz, Broadway in the Bay Area, come check us out. And I am welcoming the women on our stage here. They are founders and CEOs of incredible companies. And I have Sara Fitzmaurice, and is the founder and president of FITZ & Co., the world's leading public relations firm specializing in contemporary art. I also have Julie Wainwright, who's the founder and CEO of TheRealReal, an amazing company that has brought luxury consignment online into modern rural and a digital market space. And lastly, I have Kari Wampler, who is the CEO of Art.com, the world's online destination for wall art and decor. And previous to that, she was the CMO at Lyft and the CMO of Trulia. So incredible women up here. I'm so honored to be with you all. And this is kind of a conversation about female founders in the world of art, design, fashion, and tech. And I thought I'd ask the question to you all, and we can kind of pass and you can provide your insight. First off, when you were first starting your entrepreneur venture, what was your inspiration? Was it a moment in time? Was it a person? What was that inspiration for you to start your own business or lead?
Hi, everybody. So I was shopping with a girlfriend when she went into a little boutique that had some beautiful consignment in the back. And that's where she spent her money. And yet when I asked her, had she ever shopped in a consignment store, she said no. And I asked her if she ever shopped on eBay, and she said she never would. And yet she bought consignment, and that was it. I thought, aha, if I can create a beautiful environment for previously owned things and make sure that they're real and beautiful and inspected, it's a great way for the planet and to recycle these beautiful things. But it really was that moment.
Good afternoon. I'm Sara. So I saw a real opening and opportunity. I had been working in a public relations firm that was very much built around publicity, and we were called publicists, and I was very young. And I felt that there was this gap in terms of what's the strategy? Why are we looking to get this kind of media coverage? What is it driving? What are the business objectives that it's trying to achieve? And so I set out on my own to create a company that was really founded in strategy. And this was in the mid-90s, so that was quite unique for a PR firm to really be focused more on strategy, and especially in the art vertical where I have always worked.
And I come from a little bit of a unique background. Most of my experience is 20 years of product and marketing leadership here in Silicon Valley. And I got to know the team at Art.com. They'd been around for about 20 years, truly called a .com, an OG, which is kind of funny to see still this day. And to me, what really drew me to the company and really drew me to transforming the company is a real focus on ease. And because I've been in tech for such a long time, what I've seen over and over again is that the easier you make anything, whether it's getting a ride, Lyft, getting a home, Trulia, doing your accounting and taxes, Intuit, I was there forever, which is interesting to go from taxes to art, to really how do you make the collection, the discovery, the buying, and the enjoyment of art the easiest possible, and then that way more people can do it. And so that really spoke to me, because what we really believe that the enemy is blank walls, and that the more art that's around you in your life, the happier you are, and the best way to do that is with a really easy experience.
I applaud you all, because doing your own venture and taking leaderships in these companies takes a lot of work and a lot of energy, and I want to talk about that as female founders and leaders in this space. Have you come across any things that have any challenges that you have overcome as a female founder or leader? Can we talk about that?
Well, I don't know if you've seen the statistics, but women get about 2% of all venture capital. We're venture capital backed. Women of color get less than 0.5%. So obviously I'm not a woman of color, but just to show you how hard it is for women to get funded, it's really, really hard. So the first thing is when you do have an idea and a concept and even a team and perhaps even a business, getting funded is really difficult. And I'm going to give you one story, and if there's anyone from this company here, I'm going to apologize a little bit, not a lot, but
Maybe not a lot.
not a lot. But when I first got started, and I really thought it's a great new way to get your ideas out and get some seed funding to go on Angel List. And it was brand new then. It was 7 years ago, and the guys were like, we don't like your, we don't think anyone will ever be interested in your business, and we're not going to allow you to post anything. And we're absolutely not going to let you do that. Just so you know, fast forward, I'm almost $1 billion in sales, all right? So it just shows you. But I had to go to an engineer I was still like, I thought, okay, you're not? I'm going to figure out a way around this. I had to go to an engineer who was a contractor for me in another company and have him talk to them on my behalf because they totally downplayed it. So even on something that should be more crowdsourcing or egalitarian, they're like, no, sorry, we don't want your business up there. And honestly, I have to be one of the top 5 most successful businesses. And I did raise immediately $250,000 so of seed financing. But you know, when you talk about obstacles,
You just go around them, right? Just go around.
So the art business is very different than the tech world, fortunately, insofar as it's very female-dominated. So I was blessed with having a number of really strong female role models coming in the form of the powerhouse art dealers like Barbara Gladstone, Marion Goodman, and countless others. There's also remarkable museum directors who are women. And so it's a very female-dominated industry, which is fantastic. We all know that women artists sell for less, which is its own problem, and that I'm sure we're all paid less. However, there are great role models. My biggest challenge when I started my business in 1995 was youth. I was 26 years old, and I would walk into a room, and they would look at me and they would say, how can you be asking for these kinds of figures? And they were not huge figures at the time. You're so young. And so what I learned over the years is that, you really can't judge people whether they're female, male, mature, immature in age, and it's really about the content. And it really caused me to be a great listener in the room, because you never know who around the table is the smartest one at the table. It can often be the person you least expect.
I think I'd also offer that sometimes you can find yourself in situations where people are like, well, you're a woman, what do women want? Whether it's in the context of the role I'm in now or in prior roles. And I think one of the things that's really important for us as leaders is first and foremost to focus on what are we here to do, right? We're here to build great businesses. We're here to serve our customers. We're here to make artists a lot of money. We're here to make our customers happy, et cetera. And it is a statistical fact proven over and over and over again that diverse teams produce better outcomes, period. So I think there's a lot of really fabulous work happening. If you follow Eileen Lee, who's Cowboy Ventures VC, she's just started an organization called All Rise, which is all about getting more women funding, connecting more women founders. And really it's all based on the fact that it's not about women per se, but it's about diverse teams. And I think that's, when I think about various interesting experiences over many years, I really always brought it back to how can we as a diverse team create better outcomes?
That's the perfect question. I'm going to lead into that is how do you do that? How do you create diversity now that you're leaders in your own company and empower, young people, women, men, entrepreneurial thinkers in your space to be leaders within your own company?
Well, first of all, 70% of my employees are female and under 35. So we're always trying to get more men in. It's really as simple as that.
I have the same experience. Over the nearly 25 years that I've been in business, I'm going to say 95% of my employees have been women. I think for us in the art world, attracting people of different backgrounds and people of color has been more challenging because I think the art history programs, which a lot of our team members come out of, are just not attracting those students. So I think that it's a deeper problem within the art world. There's a lot of articles being written on this topic recently, but we too are always looking to attract men and more team members who come from different backgrounds.
And in my context, when I joined Art.com, the leadership team, and this is not a knock on them at all, it's just how it was formed, was entirely, and no knock, but like old white men. And which is sort of fascinating because our customer is a female homeowner who over-indexes on education, income, children, homeownership, et cetera. And so I'm not understanding how we got here. And so as we transformed the leadership team, my team is now 40% women, African American, Latina American, Asian immigrant, et cetera. And I made it a priority, and I think that's really how it happens. There was a super interesting article this morning about Slack and Slack's really incredible diversity in their organization, and Stuart Butterfield said, it's because it's important to me. And he doesn't have a diversity and inclusion person in his company. I'm not saying that those roles are necessarily bad, but I think you see a lot of examples of companies where, like, after they've had a problem, they add a diversity and inclusion person as if that's going to change their culture. And it obviously doesn't work. So I think it really comes from the top. It comes from leadership. And it also, again, comes back to we do this because it's important to our business, to our customers, and our community, and not just for diversity's sake.
And we were talking on the phone earlier this week. We were talking about how can we get more women being billion-dollar business owners?
More Julies.
More Julies, exactly. And I think that comes with the empowerment and supporting one another. But I'd love to hear from you how we can really help each other in this community of leadership to really empower them to become that.
So I really do think it starts with having role models that it's possible, all right? And I think that's for anything you do. If you see it's possible, you can envision yourself. And then, to be honest, when I was out raising, besides my early seed was through men once I got on Angel List. After that, I presented, 30 times for my round day, and only women understood the concept. And most of my investors are female investors. So it comes back like Aileen Lee, what she's doing with Cowboy Ventures and getting the All Rise program. It comes down, if you really want to create businesses, you need women funders who will actually relate. Because what happens, and I actually don't think this is an intentional gender bias, but what happens when you have a new idea or a new concept, in our case, we're about $10 million in revenue, it could go big, or when I got my round day, or maybe not. And so when you're presenting, you're asking the people investing in you to have faith in the idea and you as a person, and they have to have an affinity with the idea. It's very hard for men to have an affinity with a female-based product at an early stage and then invest in it. Later on, it's easier because you have more proven results. So if women need to get in at the and become early stage Series A investors to actually propagate more female businesses, at least when you have a technology, because without them, ideas get shut down that could be big. I mean, at the beginning, everything's possible. And, if you're thinking big and you have that idea, you really need an investor who believes in you, and they also have to have an affinity with you. And I have to say, a 30-year-old male VC could care less about my business. I mean, the comments I got were, very similar to AngelList. Nobody's going to like it. The guys that founded AngelList, it's a ridiculous business. There's eBay. And, very dismissive. But again, I don't think it's because I'm a woman. I think they couldn't relate to an early stage concept.
The art world is such a different landscape. I think female founders in the art world mostly come from art backgrounds, whether it's art history, some of them were studio art practitioners, and they really come to it from a place of love for the arts and the artists. And I think the big challenge in our industry is really getting women to get over the fear of the financials. It's something that I see time and time again. I don't get the numbers, or not looking at the numbers. And of course, being a woman entrepreneur and CEO, you have to look at the numbers every day. You have to have a grip on the numbers, and you have to make decisions based on those numbers. Women are great consensus builders, we're great collaborators, but sometimes as the leader you have to make tough decisions just based on the numbers, and you have to set aside your empathic side and really let the numbers run the business, and having faith and trusting the numbers. And I think for a lot of women in my industry, that's a big learning and a big opportunity.
I think that's where the role of, if you see it, you can be it, makes such a big difference. Because if you see, people who are running billion-dollar businesses, if you have the opportunity to have those kinds of individuals on your board. I'm super fortunate. I have a woman named Sharon McCullum on my board who was 30 plus years at Williams-Sonoma. Then she retired. Then they asked her to come out of retirement to turn around Best Buy. The fact that if you shop there and they still exist, it's entirely due to her. She was their CFO. So talk about, someone with an unbelievable grasp of the numbers. So I think it's really important. It's one of the reasons why, as we were debating this actual question, I think how it was originally asked was like, why don't women start billion-dollar companies? And I was like, what? They do. And in fact, I printed out this, I brought, it's, because I like show and tell, tens and tens of pages of world's most self-made billionaires, women founders of billion-dollar companies. And I think it's really important that we honor those folks, that we talk about them, that we talk about their examples. Everyone from Katarina Lake, who just had Stitch Fix go public, an extraordinary business. She had the same, very similar experience where I think she asked something in the neighborhood of 40 or 50 VCs for money and got zero, sort of no's every time until she got her first yes. And I think that kind of persistence and hearing that story, and it's okay. No is okay to hear. Risks are okay to take. Mistakes are okay to make. And that's all part of the process for how you build a big business. And it's everything from fashion to, Ann Wojcicki started 23andMe. That their most recent valuation was $1.5 billion. And that's, genetics and science. There's just myriad examples of women starting and running and growing really, really fabulous high-impact businesses. And I think the more that we share those examples and talk about them and then hear from those women, have those women invest, have those women mentor, the more that we'll be able to have more women and more women of color and more people of color participate.
I definitely agree. And lastly, I want to ask you, for all these people, there's lots of this Silicon Valley. We have lots of great ideas out there that they're, entrepreneurs, including myself, going on this venture and creating a company. What kind of a piece of advice could you give us, not, for both men and women when they're going through this venture? I love that you said, don't be afraid of hearing the word no, just keep asking. Persistence. I think persistence for me is my piece of advice, is just keep going. If you believe it and this is your passion, don't stop. Just because someone says no or it's not a good idea, it is a good idea. Keep going. So what would your advice be?
Well, let's say you're out raising money with venture capitalists. The best venture capitalists, even if they turn you down, they're going to give you good information that'll make your business stronger or give you a way to look at it. And most of them will do that. They'll say, look, I'm going to say no, here's why, here's what I need to see. And I would say all information is good information. And if you treat it that way, it's going to make your business concept stronger. It's going to make your own really tenacity stronger. Everything about the business will be better. So, and then at some point, you're going to flip to the other side and say, you know what? Everything they said is valid, but I'm still right. All right? So, and they just don't get it. But that doesn't mean that from their vantage point, you couldn't have been stronger in how you presented the case. So you have to wear this really weird thing of high ego and high humbleness. Otherwise, you're going to die. Or more importantly, you're going to build a business based on their input instead of being true to your vision, which might be the right way to go.
So I think that it's a lot easier to start a business than run a business. In my experience, there's a lot of great ideas out there. A lot of galleries start, and we're seeing a lot of smaller galleries and mid-sized galleries closing. I think having a strategic plan that is rooted in the numbers is really, really important. Building out budgets, creating a business plan. In the art world of small business owners, this is a sort of newer concept. And so I think really knowing what you don't know and putting smart people around you that can teach you that or mentor you. I had someone come in, I'm an art history major, and I had someone come in and really help me learn from a CFO perspective, and now I really take on that role through this external consultant. And so having a strategic plan, sticking with it, what does 5 years look like, what does 10 years look like? It's very different running a business for 20 years that continues to be successful. Are you building it to sell, or are you building it to continue running it? What's your goal? What's your exit strategy, even if that's 20 years out?
Yeah, a couple of things I'd add. One is, and it's related to what Julie said, which is like, why are you doing it? What is driving you? What's inspiring you? And then how do you communicate that really well to other people? So whether it's venture capitalists you're trying to raise money from, people you're trying to hire, I would argue it's almost as hard to find great talent as it is to find money, at least here in the Valley with engineers. So you have to be really crisp on your vision. Who are you serving? Why are you serving them? And why is that an exciting place and experience for people to join you, whether they're joining you with their money or they're joining you with their time? So, and I think one of the things that I do a lot is like I recommit to that vision personally all the time. Like, why am I doing okay? Because when I go see, we have a great pop-up right now in Pack Heights, and we went and we were there a couple of weeks ago with some of our customers, and just like, this is why we do what we do, because when art is on your walls, everyone is happier. People just feel delighted. And it was just, and so we're bringing the whole company there so they can all experience it, which is great. So that's one. I think the other one is don't be afraid to ask. It's not just like don't take no for an answer, but it's actually don't hold back from asking the question. You would be surprised at how many people will say yes to you that you didn't think would say yes, and then when you ask, they did. And maybe they don't say yes right away. Maybe they say yes at some point. But if you never ask, you never know. And then the last quick thing I'd offer is just self-care. I think it's really easy as a business owner, CEO, founder, high-performing executive to just put everything into the company and then, turn around and be like, do my kids think I'm their aunt or their mom? Or, have I seen the sun lately? So I think that's really important. And I think about that as an investment in my business and not just in, my health.
Awesome. Well, let's give them a round of applause for all that they've done and accomplished. Incredible.
Thank you.
And I want to open it up to you all for any questions that you might have for us. Anyone?
Don't be afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid to ask. All righty. Well, if you see us walking around, we'll be happy to answer any questions personally. And thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.